Please welcome Paul Sheeran.
Hi, my name is Paul Sheeran, and I'm a Senior Vice President at HPE Financial Services. It's a pleasure to see you all here.
¿Has sentido la emoción en torno a la IA este año? Encuentro esto tanto inspirador como impresionante. Está generando tantas ideas para negocios.
Mutta elämme monimutkaisessa maailmassa, eikä mikään ole koskaan yksinkertaista. Pääoma- ja energialähteet, joita tarvitaan tekoälyn innovaatioihin suuressa mittakaavassa, ovat valtavat.
軽く進のために必要な予算を見つけるのは常に簡単ではありません。また、これらの技術投資の価値を最大化するのも簡単ではありません。
Vos choix en tant que leader comptent pour votre entreprise et ils compteront pour la planète.
HPFS में हम अपनी वित्तीय विशेषज्ञता को मिलाते हैं.
자산 관리 능력과 지속 가능한 IT에 대한 우리의 집중은 귀하가 IT 자산에 대한 스마트한 결정을 내리는 데 도움을 주는 것입니다. 그것이 우리의 사명입니다.
But let me tell you more in person and in English.
And thank you for joining us bright and early at Discover. We started a little bit late. I know traffic out there is difficult, so thank you for bearing with us. I hope you're enjoying Discover. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's me speaking 6 languages. In there you have Korean, I think there's Finnish, Spanish, Hindi, and some more. Now you're probably thinking, what a show-off. What an absolute show-off. I'm from Ireland, and the expression is, he's got notions. But I have to confess, with AI, anything is possible. And making the impossible possible is very easy with a free app, a little bit of editing, and a little bit of fun along the way. So yes, I cheated, I'm afraid to say. But what we're going to talk about this morning is making the impossible possible. And that is going to be our theme. So many things are possible, but one thing that's very hard is we know in this world, you as IT leaders must innovate. To bring value to your business, you have to keep innovating. And to do that with a defined budget is extremely hard to do, and we appreciate that. And at HPE Financial Services, what we want to talk about is creating that investment capacity to help you continue to innovate and to help you in your mission as IT leaders to lead your companies forward into this new age. So in a minute, we're going to look at a few concrete examples to whet your appetite about what we're talking about. And I'm also delighted we're going to be joined here by Karim Abu Zahab. And Karim is HPE's worldwide principal technologist for sustainable transformation. And I know you'll really enjoy listening to Karim. He's going to talk about some very interesting, but also some controversial topics on sustainability. So more to follow. So here in Discover, and if you listened to the main stage yesterday, you'll know that AI is one of the most talked about subjects right now, whether it's at Discover or whether it's in our industry in general. And there's a reason for that. And AI is bigger, goes deeper and faster than any other technology revolution over the last 2 or 3 decades. And really, it's only at the beginning. And many of you are already working at speed, driving areas like automation, analytics, but also AI, and solving some complex problems out there in many, many fields. It could be medicine, it could be the area of smart cities, climate modeling, or even the ultra-personalization of services. So you are literally inventing our future. But today, most innovations have one thing in common, and that is data. Absolutely everything, absolutely everywhere is all about data. And in fact, if you listen to Antonio speak regularly, Antonio Neri, he actually predicts that data will be held on the balance sheet of customers, given that it's actually such an important asset. So data is critical. And our jobs are really about bringing data to value. Data to value, an important concept. So how you acquire, store, move data, act on the insights from data has never, ever been as important as it is today. Your competitive advantage really comes from how you invest and build capabilities around data. So how you go from pilots to scale to really adding value to your organization is really, really critical. So with AI, we really together have once in a lifetime opportunity to shatter limitations and to create enormous value for our organizations. But of course, AI and innovation is not without its challenges. You'll have heard from Neil yesterday on stage many of those challenges. We've listed a few today. Data quality and data management, governance, security, the whole ethics around data is critical. Here in the European Union, the whole rules and regulations about AI is becoming more and more complex. Scalability is an issue. Of course, you're all working with multi-legacy systems, whether it's multi-locations, multi-brands. Trying to scale that with AI is a challenge. How would you bring the skill levels into your organization? That can be an expensive task to get people with the right skills to actually know how to use AI. And of course, the size of your IT budget. And last but not least is the whole impact on sustainability. And sustainability becomes a bigger issue with AI. And we strongly believe at HPE that our industry cannot turn a blind eye to the impact on sustainability with AI. And we're going to hear from Kareem a little bit more shortly on that whole topic. And because technology is at the core of most companies' strategies, in fact, all companies' strategies, these are challenges for all leaders, not just the CIO in the room. It really is across all disciplines and all leaders. And a few months ago, when it came to AI, we'd hear a lot about FOGI. Anybody know what FOGI is? The fear of getting in. And what's really interesting is recently, this has now changed to FOMO, the fear of missing out. And the capital needed to innovate at scale for AI is enormous and can be quite daunting. And we clearly see it in our HPFS funding pipeline. And if you look last year, towards the end of last year, nearly 18% of everything that we funded related to AI. If you go back 6 months earlier, that was actually 0. So we certainly see that trend coming in. So funding is not the only aspect to consider from AI. We're seeing a growing need for expertise in what we call IT asset life cycles. Because you need the budget to invest in the future, but also whilst maintaining the day-to-day in the most optimal way. And the other challenge is AI is at its infancy. So it's very hard to quantify some of the cost-benefit analysis of the investments made. And again, Neil referred to that yesterday. So how would you get the economic benefit from AI? So as a result, what we see is most AI investments actually need to be self-funded by the CIO and self-funded from existing budgets. IDC recently launched and published a very interesting piece of research which really reinforces this point. And they estimate that 1 out of every 2 customers will need to work within their existing IT budgets to fund their Gen AI projects out over the next 18 months. 1 out of every 2 working within their existing budget. A quarter of businesses surveyed will look for funding from within their other business units. And what's really interesting is 90% of customers will shift budgets from other areas, whether it's application modernization or digital, to help fund AI. And I'm sure that resonates with many people in the room. Incremental budget is not easy to find, and it is certainly not typical. And that's why the notion of creating smarter IT life cycles is really so important. And what I would say to everyone in the room is you have to become a next-generation IT manager. You need to manage your IT equipment like an estate, like a portfolio. The analogy I would use is like a stock portfolio, a portfolio of stocks and shares, where you need to actively manage the portfolio, move assets in and out, and continue to create value. That will help you maintain your existing infrastructure while funding the future. So we truly believe at HPFS that is the way forward for our customers. And building smarter IT life cycles can help do that. And that's where Our HPFS financing and asset management expertise, when you bring that together, is truly differentiating. We're able to look across your entire technology estate and help you create those options, those vitally important options, to help you drive your projects forward. And those projects could be across any area of technology. Obviously AI, it could be hybrid cloud, it could be networking, or any other technological projects that you're trying to drive. So what we look to do is help balance your drive to innovate with your economics and then layer in sustainability options too. So our HP Financial Services team are working at the intersection of these three powerful forces. So let me bring this to life and share some examples. And I'm going to start with BASF. And hopefully everyone is familiar with BASF. They are a world-leading chemistry company. And they are currently looking to solve some really important challenges, whether it is climate change, even clothing recyclability, resource shortages. And we're going to hear now from the two Stefans, Dr. Stefan Dreher and Dr. Stefan Schenk, about how they are enabling innovation and sustainability at BASF and using smarter IT life cycles. So we're going to play a video.
At BASF, we create chemistry for a sustainable future. As the world-leading chemical company, we are connected to customers in all major industries, helping them to enable them to come to solutions to meet the sustainability challenges in their industries. Innovation and R&D is the lifeblood of our company. It's in our DNA. I'm a scientist myself, and that's why I started in this company. We early on discovered that high-performance computing is a key enabler for this. And that's why in late 2016, we already decided to have our own high-performance compute machine to provide these services to our scientists.
Together with my team, we are responsible for the operation of our internal supercomputing platform, which is named Curiosity. Our supercomputing system is mainly used in our R&D departments, where lots of scientific simulation is performed to boost our innovation cycle.
Now, 6 years later, we have learned about how to use such a machine, and also technology has further developed. That's why we believe that now is the right time to make a tech refresh. Of course, we also want to follow our principles in BASF to do it in a sustainable way.
When we designed the system, we looked specifically for creating a very sustainable system that also is very low on its operational cost. Circular economy is very important for BASF. I'm really happy that we could partner with HPFS and return the assets into their hands where they are given a second life. The benefit is also that we receive money from HPE for returning those assets.
We are super excited that our new Curiosity system is now up and running. It will help our scientists all across our global R&D teams to tackle now even more complex sustainability challenges together with our customers. And it will also enable us to work even more sustainable in R&D here in BASF.
So it's a great story from BASF, and it really is all about innovation and sustainability. And by the way, they also mentioned the economic benefits. So economics and sustainability are not the only things our customers look at. And a deciding factor is also the security of the data. And that is something HPFS is well equipped for. And last year, we securely overwrote 1.4 million drives. And that's over 1 billion gigabytes of data. Or said another way, it's 238,000 years of teleconference calls. Hands up who feels they were on every single one of those calls. We like our teleconference calls. So for our customer, Yahoo Japan, data security was very important for them. So we augmented our asset upcycling solutions by including lockable cages when their assets were moved. Those cages were in sealed trucks. They had GPS tracking and route reporting all along the way to really give Yahoo Japan that sense of security that their data was kept very secure throughout the whole process. And what's more, with our HPE Circular Economy report, on a regular basis, we actually give specific information to Yahoo Japan about the details of what technology assets get reused and what CO2 emissions get saved. So really important for them. Next up on our map is Italy. So in Italy, Snam is a leading energy company. And HPE's asset upcycling services became a core part of their solution to modernize a multi-generational multi-generational technology infrastructure, but also to improve their IT sustainability and minimize e-waste. Really critical to them, minimize the e-waste whilst they innovate. So again, asset upcycling, taking back their assets and doing it in a responsible way was very important for Snam. Next up is Astellas, and Astellas is a global pharmaceutical company. And what made a difference for Astellas is our global reach and our capability to decommission assets and refurbish assets of multiple brands, not just HPE technology. We love HPE technology, but we can also do this for any other brand, whether it's networking, whether it's servers, PCs, even smartphones. Astellas used HPE Financial Services asset upcycling services from the very first pickup in the US, moving to Canada, and then all around Europe from their locations. And that's contributing to their network modernization projects and as also to their sustainability goals. Now, sometimes creating smarter IT life cycles actually means doing more with what you have today. And that is true for a leading European financial institution that had 70,000 or has 70,000 employees all around the continent. And how are they creating smarter IT life cycles? Well, what we do is we take in the institution's end-of-use assets for potential refurbishment and remarketing. We put those assets back on the market for reuse, and we recover value from them, which we then share back with our customer. And to give you an example, last year with our monetizing solutions, we put back 1.2 million euros every single day back into the pockets of our customers. And what was really interesting in this example is our team created a way for the money or the funds received back from their asset upcycling services to be set aside. So those funds were ring-fenced and put into a virtual wallet that could be used to purchase HPE's certified pre-owned equipment. So pre-owned assets is another way to drive circularity and is far better than just recycling. And it's also smarter economically. So our reuse rates for servers are actually as high as 86%. So the servers we take back to our technology renewal centers have an 86% reuse rate. For PCs, it's actually 95%. So if you think about it, all those assets are coming back and finding a new home. That is driving circularity, really, really important. So moving on, in conversations with our customers, we see a recurring theme. And innovation requires cooperation, especially when you work at the intersection of topics like we do. And businesses, partners, our customers, our end users, all together bring value to the process. So I like this term co-intelligence. It was coined by a leading AI mind and a professor in the University of Pennsylvania. And it really is to explain how AI works when we use it to augment our performance. But I like applying this idea to business, and it's about how we partner with our customers and explore new solutions together. We both bring knowledge to the equation, and we bring expertise to create something better. So in the spirit of co-intelligence and designing for the future, I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, and that's Karim. And Karim is a worldwide principal technologist for sustainable transformation at HPE. And he spends a lot of his time with customers, advising customers around their options for sustainability and innovation. So let's welcome Karim. Good morning. Good. Karim is in high demand over the last few days, so we're delighted that you're here with us. We really appreciate it. I've done some work with Karim recently, and I can tell you he truly has that fire in the belly, that burning passion about sustainability. So before we get down to business, maybe you just tell us a little bit about how your journey started and how you became so passionate about the subject of sustainability.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope Barcelona is treating you well. And Discover, of course. So my journey actually, Paul, started a couple of, maybe more than a decade ago. I actually studied in university computer and telecom engineering. And I never wanted to actually go into technology. So halfway through my degree, I realized that, okay, maybe this is not something that I really want to pursue. But I carried on, and life has actually taken me to HPE. So I joined HPE in 2017. And I must admit, up until I actually got this current role, throughout university, throughout all of my jobs, I never was actually taught or told to think about efficiency of IT. So in university, as a computer engineer, they teach us that you need the best and brightest for everything. And I don't know if everybody here can remember, even on the CDs, you know, like the games, they used to say like minimum requirements, I don't know how many terabytes, I don't know how many gigabytes of memory, and so on and so on. We're never taught to actually increase, for example, utilization or think of the efficiency of the IT equipment itself, or even mention the word sustainability or circularity. So up until I got this role where I actually had to upskill myself and start learning about, okay, what does it mean to be truly efficient or truly sustainable in IT, basically. So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you, Kareem. So down to business. So AI is obviously a hot topic. Thankfully, sustainability is a hot topic. Can you maybe give us some of your insights into the whole area of energy usage when it comes to AI?
Yeah. So basically, from what we're seeing from AI, and you just mentioned this now, the amount of resource, we don't fully grasp the amount of resources that AI actually consumes or requires. And as you can see in the slide behind me, so it's expected to even become even more. So AI is expected to skyrocket from currently 2% of the power of the data center to 10% by next year. And that will become a global thing. And while most companies, as you said, are thinking about, okay, how can I actually implement AI? Or even their organization is asking the IT organization to implement AI projects, most of them don't know where the budget is going to come from, and nor the energy. I know, for example, in Ireland, energy is a very big topic now when it comes to data centers specifically. Next up, and we can see here that the compute and power to train those AI models is going to be doubling every 3 to 4 months. So this is not going to stop. We keep on training newer and newer models. And basically, as of now, from what we're seeing is that AI is using more energy than it's actually giving back. So we need to really think about how to efficiently deploy those AI projects. And last, but definitely not least, there's also water demand that we're using, whether to cool or to power those data centers, of course. And that last stat, so you can see that global AI demand may account for between 4.2 and 6.6 billion cubic meters of water by 2027. And that's actually 3 times the amount of water that is in the river Seine in Paris.
Wow. That's interesting. And using more energy than giving back is not a good thing. I'm not sure we fully grasp the consequences of that, whether it's from an economical perspective or a geopolitical perspective.
Yeah. And basically, as Antonio mentioned, and Neil as well yesterday, Hewlett-Packard Labs back in 2015, was it 2015 or 2016 actually, thought about HPE's AI ethical principles, because we need to think about AI being a force, and a force for good, most importantly. And these AI ethical principles are, as you can see, AI must be privacy-enabled and secure. On top of that, AI should also be human-focused because at the end of the day, we're inhabiting this earth, right? And AI should be inclusive. We see a lot of unconscious bias in the algorithms. So we need to tackle that, and we need to make sure that AI includes all of us and treats us with equity in mind. And of course, AI should be robust. We're seeing a lot of critical workloads be working with AI, so it has to be robust. And last but definitely not least, AI should be responsible. And that should happen across the whole life cycle of the AI model, basically.
No, that makes a lot of sense, Karim. So with these principles in mind, and when you meet customers, what advice do you give them in terms of driving more sustainability in AI or in IT in general?
Yeah, and you touched upon that like a couple of minutes ago, basically, when you mentioned about the equipment.
Yeah.
So going back to what I mentioned, we're always taught to have the best and brightest equipment and so on for the newer deployments. But sometimes I don't really need the best and brightest for those other workloads, right? Sometimes CPO or certified pre-owned could work as good, if not even better, if we think about efficiency. And there's a lack of standards in the industry when it comes to efficiency in IT because, again, we were not taught to think about that. And that's why in HP we came up with our 5 IT efficiency levers that you can see here, which are data efficiency, software, equipment, energy, and last but not least, resource efficiency. So starting just a very brief explanation of all of these. So starting with data, it's not only about how much data I'm storing, but it's also where I'm storing that data. Again, I don't need the best and brightest. I don't need the most mission-critical storage to, I don't know, to store receipts from 20 years ago. I can easily archive them, or I can easily host them on hard drives, right? Next up, we have software efficiency, and that is optimizing the software with the workload that I'm running, keeping in mind the context of what is happening in my IT estate. And thirdly, we have equipment efficiency, which we just talked about. I don't need the best equipment, and I basically can find the right balance to run my workloads. Next up, we have energy efficiency, and this is something Neil mentioned yesterday during the keynote, and that is making the most from performance per watt perspective of what I'm running. And last but definitely not least, we have resource efficiency. And that's all of the auxiliary resources that are needed to run my data center, for example, cooling or even power conversion, which was also mentioned yesterday. And it's very important to know that we should not stop there. We should also, this is all about what is installed in my data center, or what is running in that estate. But we need to actually think beyond that as well.
Okay. I've heard you talk about thinking beyond, and thinking beyond, you've used this terminology, beyond what's plugged in. Can you just explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. So now that I achieved, let's say, peak efficiency in my IT estate, I need to think about outside of my data center. What are the factors that can actually help me improve, what is happening from an efficiency and a sustainability perspective? And these are 3 key things that we can look at. We can look at heat reuse, which is actually has been made mandatory by the EU Energy Efficiency Directive for data centers of a certain size. And there's a brilliant installation by our new partnership with Danfoss, the Enhanced Modular Data Center. You can go ahead and see those heat pumps installed on the show floor. So that's 1. 2, one of the best ways still to mitigate the carbon emissions or the environmental impact of my IT estate is basically sourcing renewable energy 24/7 whenever possible. And last, but definitely not least, thinking about what happens, which is also something that we were not taught, about thinking about what happens to that IT equipment or that equipment in general when I don't need it anymore or when it comes to end of use. And actually, you mentioned yesterday to me that you just launched the Circular Economy Report. Right?
We did, Karim. Yeah, thank you for that. So the HPE Circular Economy Report is something that I think is a real, true example of HP's drive to differentiate ourselves and drive more transparency in the industry. And really what that report does is a number of things. It details the reuse versus recycle rates. so reuse versus recycle. And it then talks about the environmental impact savings from reuse versus recycle. So I mentioned it for Yahoo Japan. It's really critical. We've actually launched a more improved version, and this is specific to customers. This is not a general report. This is very specific to customers. And the new improved version does 3 extra things. First of all, it gives a greater level of precision and accuracy. Next off, it is actually validated by an independent third party, which is critical. And last but not least, it actually gives Scope 3 reporting guidance, which is now become a requirement in many areas. So it's not just useful information, it's usable information for the customers. So please don't hesitate to ask our teams about it. It's there for all our customers and for our partners, by the way, to use. And we'd love to make sure that everyone has their hands on it. Kareem, thank you so much. That was terrific. I know you're around over the next day. So if you see him and you have any more questions, grab him. He's got a very strong point of view in this area. I know he'd love to talk to you. Thank you so much, Kareem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
So hopefully you're now in agreement that there's no doubt that maximizing technology asset reuse is just a smarter way to layer in circularity. And as I said, you can measure it through our circular economy report. And think about it, you can also extend the life of your technology assets with HPE's certified pre-owned assets, which Kareem has just mentioned. And because you don't necessarily need the latest infrastructure for 100% of your workloads. But there's one thing you do need, and that is to trust your technology, to work and to do it well. And that's why we stand over our HPE certified technology. We offer a 3-year warranty for most of our pre-owned technology. So you can trust that we are committed to helping you really drive and manage your technology estate in a sustainable way, no matter where it is in its life cycle stage. So can you all imagine what innovation you'll be working on in the next 2 or 3 years from now? Hard to imagine. But with the right strategy, with the right operating model, and the right economics, IT leaders really can help and position their companies for growth into the future, and to do it in a sustainable way. And Dave Packard, one of the co-founders of HP, said a number of very smart things in his career, and most of them, and if not all of them, still hold true. My favorite is one here that we show on the slide, and that is to remain static is to lose ground. And leadership really is an act of optimism. It's about taking smart risks. It's about contributing to a more creative, sustainable, and resilient business world. So what we choose to do with AI, what we choose to do with data, what we choose to do with our entire technology estate, when you acquire it, when you use it, and when you dispose of it, matters. It matters to your business, it matters to your employees, and most importantly, it matters to the planet. So our teams would love to connect with you, many of them are here today, to explore how you want to grow and how you want HPFS to help you get there. So for now, a really big thank you for your attendance this morning, and hopefully we'll be all connecting soon. Thank you very much.